Well, good day. It's May the 13th, and I'm along the Cataraqui Trail, and we're foraging again. I found some fiddleheads. They're just about done. They're pretty late, and that'll be probably the last meal of fresh fiddleheads that I'll have tonight. And I've also found another edible here, and I thought I would just introduce. And I'll just reverse the camera here. This is a wild mushroom called the Dryad Saddle, or another name for it is the pheasant back. And these are just the size. I'm going to put my hand here. These are what we call buttons. And these are a nice little edible. There we go. That guy. Okay, I'm going to flip them around. As you can see, they look like sponge underneath. Now these ones, they smell like watermelon. They have a kind of a unique taste. When you harvest them young like this, these can get the size of dinner plates. When they're that size, they live up to their name, Dry Saddle. They're as tough as you can imagine. But when they're young, they're quite tender, and you can just slice them up and fry them in butter and a little bit of garlic if you like. And so there you go, pheasant backs, and you can see where they get their name. They look just like feathers on a pheasant's back. So here we are, it's May 15, and we found another wild edible growing. This one in my garden. I have an old dead maple stump here. And at this time of year, we get big clusters of a mushroom called Inky Caps. And there's a couple interesting things about this. Another name for it is the alcohol inky. This particular mushroom, if you drink alcohol for 3 days before, up to 3 days after, you can't eat this one. The alcohol does something to your liver, and it can't process the toxins in the mushrooms. So if you drink alcohol, you can't touch this one. If you're a non-drinker, then this one's edible for you. The other reason it gets this name Inky Cap is this cluster. I looked at it yesterday and it was prime, and I'm just gonna pull one of these guys. There we go. And you can see along the edge they start to self-decompose, and you can see it on my fingers already here too. Just going to get my hands in there. And they used to make ink from the black slime that forms as these things start to fall apart. So I'm just going to show you the bottom of this one again, so you can see it's got pretty even veins underneath the cap. It's not like sponge, it's more veiny. And a stem, and when they come up, you've got to eat them when you find them. Like here's some nice ones over here. But in a day, this one is going to look like this black mess here. So there you go, another wild edible. And they usually come up in great big clusters. If you catch them right, you can get 5-10 pounds if you have a few well-coated maple stumps. And I don't find these out in the woods too much. They're more in people's yards, because that's where you find the big old maple stumps that have been cut off as the trees die. There's another wild edible, May 15. Well, good morning. It's now May 17th. We've got a May long weekend, and we're having just an absolutely gorgeous day here today around Portland. And I'm just going to reverse the camera. There we go. I'm in the woods just outside of Portland here. And I made an interesting discovery this morning. I like finding wild edibles. And I found some wild asparagus. few spears here. This one is pretty big with my hand. Let's see, about 14 inches high already. And here's obviously the canes from last year for this plant. Beautiful. That's something I've never found before in the bush. That's totally awesome. Well, good morning. It's May 28th, and I'm out on a little forage session again, and we found something really nice. I've been looking for these guys for a while. It's been a dry year, and they're tough to find this year. And, there we go. We've got another beautiful edible. This is the Morel Mushroom, Morcella. Beautiful mushroom, and I'm going to harvest this guy. I'll just try and show you here. I usually have a sharp knife here with me, and we're just going to take this just above the crown, like so. Okay, so with these morels, they're actually a hollow sort of mushroom, and what I like to do with these guys, we're going to take a knife and split right down the middle lengthwise. And there is false morel mushrooms as well, and I like to split these guys open. There we go. There we go. So you can see inside they have a hollow stem, and I like to split them every now and again. You'll find sow bugs or little insects inside them. Sometimes the slugs will get in. This one's nice and clean, no bugs, and it's just perfect. Ripeness is just starting to dry, so which means it's matured out. It was in a day or two, it was going to be totally inedible. So that's your morel mushroom. Beautiful tasting mushroom. You don't have to do a whole lot with these. Just put some butter in a pan with a little bit of garlic and fry them and saute them till they're brown, and they're lovely. And remember, wild mushrooms, always cook them. Don't eat any wild mushroom raw. Okay? There's the morel, and I'm really happy to find these. There's not too many around this year. And as you can see here, some of these morels get pretty good size. This one is about 5 or 6 inches long. A good handful on one mushroom. That's great. These are just absolutely delicious. One of my favorite things in the spring to do is to find these guys. Okay, it's May 27th here, and I've in one of the other segments I showed you a Dryad Saddle, or a pheasant back mushroom that was just very small ones coming out of dead stumps. And I was talking about that they get the size of dinner plates as they get a bit bigger, and I found a nice group of them here. So this is what they look like as they get older, and as you can see, they're getting much larger here. And I'm gonna harvest some of this, and these will be too tough to eat. These are not good for eating anymore, but what I like to use these for is for making a mushroom soup stock. One of the interesting things about this mushroom is that it smells like watermelon rind. So, and it's one thing, anytime you harvest mushrooms, smell them. And it's kind of like you learn to identify these things by the smell. Sort of like when you go to the grocery store and you get a cantaloupe and you can smell it, and if you were blindfolded, you know it's a cantaloupe, or you know it was strawberries. And each of these mushrooms has a very distinctive smell. So yeah, take the time when you harvest these guys and learn the smell, and then it just helps you positively identify them later on. So there they are, Dryad Saddle, or pheasant backs. And you can see they're growing on an old dead maple stump here.